Powered by Riverside FM.
Welcome to another edition of Unconventional Playbook. Please hit that like and subscribe button. UP Nation, we've got a huge game tomorrow night. Short week, Minnesota Vikings, Los Angeles Rams. Is it a must win? We've talked about that. Is it a must win? Do we have to win this game? Obviously, we're 5-1. Got a lot more games left to play, 6 games under our belt, 11 more games to go. So in terms of the long-term landscape of things, probably not a must-win, but it's a must-win to get back on track, get the bad taste out of our mouth last Sunday against the Lions. Don't want to drop 2 in a row. Who knows what that does to the psyche of the Minnesota Vikings? When you start off 5-0, you just don't want to take a couple of steps backwards. Like, it's not a must win, but you really, really got to get that win. A lot of interesting tidbits. The Battle of the Brains, I heard it called tomorrow. You got Sean McVay and you got KOC, both really good friends. Obviously, KOC coming from the Los Angeles Rams organization, won a Super Bowl with them and Matthew Stafford. So there's nobody that knows McVay better than KOC and vice versa. Both of them knows what each other likes to do in certain situations. So I think it's going to be a huge chess match tomorrow night. Are you excited, UP Nation? Are you excited? Both of them have similar philosophies. Again, I think the schemes and the playbooks are similar. Some of the verbiage and things may be a little different. KOC obviously learned a lot from McVay, but he's tweaked the system a little bit since he's been with the Minnesota Vikings. But all in all, it should be a good game. I think the Minnesota Vikings on a short week really have an opportunity to respond. I think everybody's been making a big deal about it being a short week, and it is a big deal. But the Rams are dealing with the same thing. The only thing that they don't have to deal with is the travel, and I think the travel is a big deal because it takes away 1 day of preparation. And so the Vikings have a little bit, they've been pretty much safe in terms of health, in terms of not having really big injuries since the season start. But Blake Cashman, obviously banged up. TJ Hawkinson, we haven't heard an official announcement yet whether or not he's going to be back full-time on Thursday night. There's an opportunity, I guess, or there's been banter around him possibly returning the following week, not having him play on this short week. But I guess we will find out tomorrow night. Really peculiar. Justin Jefferson has been talking about, he's kind of getting to, and I'm paraphrasing here, but he's kind of getting tired of these 80, 90-yard games. And, he hasn't been having, an amazing season, but he's been having a pretty good season. But he's just sending that message that, he's got to do more for the team. He's taking that responsibility on his back. Hasn't really had an 100-yard receiving game. And I know that he wants to be able to do that. Justin Jefferson, has talked about for years that he wants to have that receiving year where he has about 2,000 yards receiving. He said today, it's right there. It's right there. I'm definitely sick of having these 80, 90-yard games. I've definitely got to get over the hump of 100 yards. That's definitely my plan, according to him. So this is a big game for him. About the Rams, Cooper Kupp is going to try to make a comeback. Now, Cooper Kupp is not the same Cooper Kupp that he was a couple of years ago, but Cooper Kupp is still an effective weapon against other teams. And when you have a quarterback like Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp pairing themselves on a short week, that can be a dangerous conversation. Cooper Kupp, the MVP of the Super Bowl a few years ago. He's a veteran target of the Los Angeles Rams passing game. Hasn't played since suffering an ankle injury in week 2, but he is expected to play on Thursday night. So the Minnesota Vikings have to be prepared for that. The Rams have been one of those teams that's just really been banged up all year long. They've lost their left tackle, Joseph Noteboom, their left guard, Steve Avila, their center, Jonah Jackson, wide receiver, Puka Nakua. So they've been dealing with the injury bug and they're trying to get healthy, but really they're going to be banged up for the whole year. None of these injuries are injuries that are really short term. Obviously, it will help to get Cooper Kupp back, but they're dealing with the injury bug. And I think that's where a lot of the trade rumors in terms of the Los Angeles Rams are coming from. They're a team that's been, accumulating some losses in the loss column. They're a little bit banged up. They're not a team that is looking to threaten to make a playoff run this year. So they might be fire selling a lot of guys. The Vikings are dealing with a guy in terms of Matthew Stafford that is very familiar with the NFC North. And he's very familiar with the Minnesota Vikings, along with Kevin O'Connell, who is his offensive coordinator with the Los Angeles Rams. So they are familiar with his tendencies. That's going to come into play. I think, KOC probably have some trade secrets about things that may bother Matthew Stafford. So I think that's only going to help B-Flow and his defense. These are two teams that are just familiar with each other and familiar with the tendencies. So it'll be an interesting game for tomorrow night. I'm looking for Sam Darnold to get back on track. Sam Darnold hasn't been playing terrible football, but since that first half of the Green Bay Packers game, he just hasn't been quite himself. I think it's been a combination of the play calling really not getting him in rhythm. We talked about him holding the ball, patting the ball a little bit too long, looking for that home run ball. That's been attributing to some of the sacks that he's been accumulating, the interceptions, not reading that weak side defender, things of that sort. So again, he really hasn't been playing terrible, but he's got to have a breakout game to get him back on track and get this offense moving. Right now, the defense is ahead of the offense in terms of consistency, obviously, but we got to get that offense going, especially with TJ Hawkinson possibly making an appearance. I think that's only going to help Sam Darnold in terms of having that insurance policy going across the middle, him being able to dump off, and a tight end like TJ that's being able to catch and get some yards after the catch. I think it's very important for Sam Darnold to have a breakout game. The Minnesota Vikings were looking to, again, have another game from Aaron Jones where we can get that consistent running game. I thought for Aaron Jones to be hurt last game, definitely came out, did a really good job running the football, had 93 yards total for the game. I thought he was a little bit slow trying to get around the corners at time. If you go back and you watch all 22, whenever he ran those high off tackles or those sweeps, he had to cut back inside because the Lions linebackers were just outrunning him to the outside where he had to turn it back in. And I think that was attributed to his hamstring. He really didn't have that explosiveness that he normally has coming off that right and left edge. But the one long run that he had, he found the outside, put that thing in the second gear, and outran the corner to the touchdown. So for a guy that was hurt, he looked pretty good last week. I think when you look at the Minnesota Vikings, they were really disappointed. And here's what I like about this team is because they seem to be the type of team that takes a lot of accountability. Even when they're winning football games, if they're not playing up to their ability, they say that when they talk to reporters after the game. They're not pleased. They know that, especially on the offensive side of the ball, they have those dry spells. They have those times where they can't move it. They're going 1, 2, 3 and out. They're turning the ball over, and it got to be a more consistent offense. You heard various players with Justin Jefferson leading the charge, just basically saying, hey, we got to play better. And that's what the Minnesota Vikings are going to look to do tomorrow night, to have a little bit more consistency on the offensive end. I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I think this Thursday night game, even though those Thursdays are tough turnarounds, I think this Thursday is coming at the right time for the Minnesota Vikings, right after a loss. I think that loss from the Detroit Lions was a close game, but it was one of those games where they came up a little bit short, and I think it got their attention. This team really seems like a team that really hates losing, and maybe they just needed that refocusing. I think B-Flow's defense is going to bounce back, and I think Sam Darnold needs to have a game to continue to heighten his confidence. You know, the one thing I think he struggles with is that when he has bad games or he has bad throws or the offense is inconsistent, I think it definitely bothers his game. I think it definitely bothers his confidence. So, you know, he can't have another bad game under his belt because I think that is just detrimental to his confidence. And I think, you know, Sam Darnold is someone that can continue to lead this team and be effective. He doesn't have to go out and be a hero. He can be a game manager for the rest of the year. And when we need him, come through, make those efficient passes. But if his confidence is not there, that's when I start to worry about what Matthew Stafford can do on the other side of the ball against Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold has to think and has to know that he is guiding a 5-1 team that has a shot to make a run in the playoffs, that has a shot to get to the Super Bowl, and he's got to come out. He's got to come out, and he's got to take care of business tomorrow. He's got to take care of business tomorrow. I think he may have his full complement of weapons out there. I can't wait to see that. Even if T.J. Hockenson plays, I don't know how much he will play. He may be on a pitch count tomorrow, but we will see. UP Nation, who do you think is going to win the game tonight? Obviously, we want the Minnesota Vikings to win the game, but who do you think is going to win the game? I got the Vikings taking this game 24-13. 24-13 tomorrow night. I think it's going to be one of the most complete games that we've seen this year from the Minnesota Vikings on both sides of the ball. I think we're going to stifle their offense, and we're going to be able to make some plays in terms of that consistent run, balance with the pass, and I think the Minnesota Vikings are going to have a tremendous game tomorrow night. UP Nation, what do you think? Who wins that game tomorrow? What's the score of that game tomorrow? Put it in the comments. Please hit that like and subscribe button. Let's go Skol Nation. Let's go UP Nation. Let's go Purple. Let's go Vikes. This has been Unconventional Playbook. We will make sure to see you when we see you. Latre, take us home.
I don't know who I am. Can I say I'm the man? Am I losing my mind? Am I wasting my time? Do I know who I am? I don't know who I am. Can I say I'm the man?